At the dawn of the Second World War, when German forces advanced into France after conquering Poland, the Wehrmacht's Panzer divisions sent shockwaves across the globe. These divisions were more than just an assembly of tanks. They were a formidable combined arms team centered around armored vehicles. In a 1940 Life magazine article, the German Army's offensive was described as not merely a new weapon or warfare style, but as an ingenious development and use of every modern weapon seen thus far. Confronted with this unprecedented threat, the United States Army found itself in a race against time to devise a new doctrine. By late 1941, the War Department had launched a revolutionary military concept, the tank destroyer. This new force emphasized rapid response, powerful firepower, and mobility over heavy armor, aiming to create a specialized unit capable of swiftly engaging and neutralizing advancing enemy tanks, thus preventing them from outmaneuvering or overwhelming American defenses. Would this bold tank destroyer doctrine become the key to halting the German Panzer onslaught, or had the United States gambled its military future on a strategy few comprehended? The concept of tank warfare was first introduced by the British Army during the Battle of the Somme in July 1916. The initial armored vehicles were cumbersome, unreliable, difficult to operate, and slow, with limited roles in a combined arms team. However, various versions of tank technology soon found their way into the French, American, and German armies. After the First World War, while European tank designers significantly improved their designs, innovation in anti-tank technology lagged behind. In interwar European conflicts like the Spanish Civil War, tanks were used without decisive outcomes, doing little to alert many nations to the growing threat posed by tanks. Nonetheless, within Germany's burgeoning Third Reich, the rearmament program initiated by Adolf Hitler in 1935 granted General Heinz Guderian complete freedom. Guderian established the first Panzer, or tank divisions, which were more than just collections of tanks. They were combined arms teams centered around these vehicles. Guderian was also an early proponent of the blitzkrieg approach, advocating for surprise attacks using rapid and overwhelming force concentrations. He advocated using these massed panzer divisions to strike strategic objectives deep in the enemy's rear. When Germany invaded France on May 10, 1940, the Anglo-French forces initially appeared numerically and technically superior, boasting a greater number of medium and heavy vehicles. However, German crews, trained and experienced in new combined tactics involving dive bombers, anti-tank guns, and tanks, soon proved the efficacy of this novel concept. During the invasion, the core of this team lay in the fast-moving German armor. The Wehrmacht exploited the advantages of the Panzer III tank, equipped with a modern radio communication system and a three-man turret, which enhanced efficiency. With their blitzkrieg strategy, the Germans emphasized speed, surprise, and encirclement, rapidly advancing through the Ardennes, a region deemed impassable for a large army. Although France had both light and heavy tanks, these were built following French doctrine, primarily viewing them as infantry support weapons. To combat German armor, they relied on anti-tank guns, which were insufficient in number and doctrine to effectively counter the onslaught. French Lieutenant Colonel Pierre Labarthe later characterized the situation, stating that their tanks, poorly armed, could not protect their infantry, devoid of anti-tank weapons and forced to fight in open terrain. In just over 6 weeks, France signed an armistice with Germany on June 22, 1940, effectively ending French resistance. The destruction of the French army, the sixth largest in the world at the time, shocked the world, including America. Having reviewed numerous reports from Europe and recognizing that the army, as it was then organized, was ill-prepared for war against German armor, Army Chief of Staff General George C. Marshall took decisive action to transform the American Army into a force capable of stopping German tanks, aided by tank destroyer vehicles. On November 27, 1941, Marshall ordered the activation of a tank destroyer tactical firing center, and the following day, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew D. Bruce was appointed head of the Anti-Tank Planning Board. Collaborating with General Leslie McNair, Chief of Staff of General Headquarters, and the newly established United States Army Tank Destroyer Command, the two men were determined to prevent the American Army from suffering the same fate as the British, French, and Belgian armies. Based on War Department guidance, Bruce had two primary missions: to develop the doctrine for tank destroyer forces and to create the ultimate tank destroyer. With the M3 vehicle already in production, Bruce, the National Defense Research Committee, and the Inventors Council worked to design a vehicle specifically for the new force. The requirements included a fast-moving vehicle armed with a powerful weapon, easy to operate, and protected by enough armor to withstand small arms fire. In January 1942, the Tank Destroyer Tactical and Firing Center established its base in Killeen, Texas. Camp Hood quickly became the hub of all tank destroyer activities, from training and activating units to evolving doctrine and equipment. The foundational doctrine for tank destroyer operations was articulated in the FM-18-5 Tank Destroyer Field Manual, released in June of that year. This manual reinforced the aggressive, offensive spirit inherent in tank destroyers, unequivocally stating that the sole objective of tank destroyer units was the destruction of hostile tanks. The manual provided specific guidance on the strategic deployment of tank destroyers, emphasizing that the majority should be held in reserve, amplifying their effectiveness when engaging enemy armor. The essence of their operations was captured in their memorable motto: "Seek and strike and destroy." As Operation Torch commenced, Allied forces entered Africa, and 7 tank destroyer battalions faced combat for the first time. However, their doctrine did not seamlessly align with real battle scenarios. Major General Orlando Ward of the 1st Armored Division in Tunisia observed that German tanks advanced at a glacial pace, contrary to the manual's suggestion of superior firepower. By 1943, German tanks possessed more advanced weaponry, making it challenging for tank destroyers to execute their mission effectively. After several months, the battalions engaged the formidable German 10th Panzer Division at Kedab Ridge at El Getar. In a fierce morning-long battle, the 601st obliterated 30 German tanks, with their mines taking out 8 more. By noon, after expending almost 3,000 shells and nearly 50,000 machine gun rounds, they sent the 10th Panzer into retreat. While this battle validated the tank destroyer concept, it was not without cost, as the 601st lost 24 of their 36 M3 vehicles. Based on their experiences in Africa, the Tank Destroyer Board began revising the manual in May 1943, and Orlando Ward took command of the Tank Destroyer Center at Camp Hood. In October 1943, more tank destroyer battalions completed training and prepared for the invasion of Italy. However, the difficult terrain and conservative German strategies limited tank engagements, forcing tank destroyers to adapt to other roles, primarily as artillery support. The Italian campaign saw the widespread use of the M10 tank destroyer, but it was the M18 Hellcat, introduced later, that realized General Bruce's vision. Weighing just under 20 tons, the Hellcat was the fastest combat vehicle produced by any army during the war, with speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. However, the hilly Italian terrain meant the Hellcat never fully lived up to its potential. In June 1944, Major General Dawley took command of the Tank Destroyer Center. As tank versus tank engagements became more common, the Tank Destroyer Center revised the doctrine to employ more flexible tactics. Following the American breakthrough in Operation Cobra, tank destroyers faced their first significant challenge against top-tier German armor. The Germans launched a surprise counterattack on Mortain, France, on August 6th, catching the American forces off guard. The 823rd Tank Destroyer Battalion, in collaboration with the 30th Infantry Division, defended St. Barthélemy, decimating 14 enemy tanks and earning a Presidential Unit citation. In September 1944, the M36 Jackson tank destroyer arrived in Europe, boasting a 90mm gun that made it the most lethal armored vehicle in the American arsenal. Despite the doctrine's mixed success, tank destroyers influenced the course of battle on the decisive battlefields of World War II. If you enjoyed this content, visit our channel for more stories like this. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Also, let us know in the comments where you are watching from.